And who am I unbecoming? Definitely unbecoming a people pleaser, girl, I will tell you that. Like, I'm totally working on releasing control of what I think success looks like, of what all the judgments that I've had on myself, on others, and embrace gratitude in everything, even in the moments whenever life is down, thinking like, wow, I'm thankful that I'm going through this because it'll bring me up and get me somewhere else. Okay. This is so cute too. Like, I love this. Like, oh, okay. Sure, that's all the questions. Rules, have fun, be yourself. Oh, I love this. Introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Oh, yeah. I feel like, it's funny, the simplest, like, 3-word question, but it's sometimes people go to the grave, I think, like, never figuring out the answer to that. Interesting. Yeah. So my name is Lexis Wright, and I'm born and raised from Pittsburgh, PA. And who am I? I think I'm honestly in a season of figuring that out. I used to think that I was going to be someone who's like CMO, chasing corporate ladder, or I played everything by the book and I tried to do everything right. And I think I realized recently in life that if you aren't taking a challenge, if you aren't risking and being willing to fail, you'll never quite really figure out who you are. And I think within that, that's been a large season of what I've been in, is just taking challenges, going after things, chasing things that I never thought before. And um, what I have found for that, and it kind of leads into what I do, is that I am a creative and I value connection. I think my vessel or my tool that I've been using to kind of exercise that is marketing, because it ties both like the creative storytelling, the visual elements, the branding. And it ties that with trying to connect with an audience, trying to connect with people, and whether that's for an individual or a brand. Um, I think those are all things that wakes me up in the morning. That's even on the tough days. I'm like, oh my gosh, how can I make this work in a creative, new, fun way? And those are the challenges that excite me. But at my core, I think creativity is really who I am, and I've just now recently started to, I think, embrace that, um, and really understanding what creativity looks like for me, where that's modeling in as a form of self-expression, or how I style myself, how I wear my hair. I think creativity is who I am, and it's what I do, but I'm figuring out the answer to exactly what that looks like. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you said you're becoming. Who are you becoming? Who are you unbecoming? Dang, that's good. Yeah, who am I becoming? Um, I think I'm becoming someone who can trust herself and who is sure in herself. I think all of my life I have let like external validation, accolades, awards, chasing the perfect grade, chasing the perfect internship, the perfect job, all of these external things to validate who I was. And whenever I decided to quit my job, and I remember like somebody asked me like, what do you do? Who are you? And I'm like, oh my God, like there was a moment of a feeling of like silence, like, dang, what am I doing? Who am I without all of these things? And I realized that I leaned so much on external validation from others that I never quite really listened to my own voice, or I never quite took the time to figure out who I was. So I think that's what I'm becoming. I'm becoming someone who can trust herself, who is giving herself the permission to fail, who's giving herself the permission to experiment with life, have fun, and in doing that with no regrets of anything. And who am I unbecoming? Definitely unbecoming a people pleaser, girl, I will tell you that. Like, I'm totally working on releasing control of what I think success looks like, of what all the judgments that I've had on myself, on others, and just trying to be just accepting of and practice and embrace gratitude in everything, even in the moments whenever life is down, thinking like, wow, I'm thankful that I'm going through this because it'll bring me up and get me somewhere else. I'm just trying to shed off a lot of that, of needing others' approvals, of feeling like I have to ask permission for how I navigate life, um, and just leaning into myself more. And and yeah, yeah. You're chasing a version of success that wasn't yours. When did you realize you were performing and not authentically living? Dang, these are good. Dang, these are so good. Yeah, you were chasing a version of yourself that wasn't yours. Yeah. I I think it was at my job. It was at this company that I was at with this, like, in the manufacturing industry. I'm going from fashion, creativity, everything I loved, and I'm chasing a paycheck and I'm chasing, oh, like, yeah, I'll learn more. I can tough it out. I might be the only woman, the only person of color in the entire space, but like no one's going to get me down. I'm going to do it. And I was telling myself all these things like every day waking up like you got this, you're going to do it, you're going to do it. And it wasn't until I had like one of the most nastiest encounters with my manager that I realized, what am I doing this for? Like, what am I doing this for? Who am I trying to prove this version of myself, to climb in the corporate ladder thinking that being the CMO is what defines your success, being, some type of grandiose title that we as a society just assign an immediate value or label to. It was in that moment I was like, dang, I have not been living my life. I have been living for others, or living to please, living to receive a title, award, or to be labeled something, and that's just so not, that's not what it's about. And I think I kind of learned that through dance. Like, I went to a creative and performing arts high school, and whenever you're on stage, like, like you're in this costume, you're putting on this whole persona to give to an audience. And I think whether I realized it or not, a lot of that leaked out into myself. Um, but one thing I always valued was leadership and connecting and being a role model for others. And I think that in that space I wasn't quite necessarily performing. I think my connections with people, that's kind of always remained true. But when I think of my definitions of success, or what I thought that clarity and all these things look like, I think that that wasn't it. And I think that now is what I'm really starting to understand, of what giving yourself the permission to experiment with life. And that's kind of where like the whole life experiment came about. Actually, was like I was sitting on my couch and I was like, dang, like I'm not waking up every day, clicking on a meeting, saying, "Oh my gosh, hi everyone, how's your weekend?" Like, I'm not doing that. I'm quiet, I'm content. What does that look like? What does that, whenever you aren't putting on a version for somebody else to make them feel comfortable, or um to seek validation from someone else, what does that version of yourself look like? And I had to sit back and think, no, that version is one where I can roam freely, I can fail, I can accept myself, and I can just give myself the permission to do different things without judgment. Yeah. Talk to me about a defining moment in your life. How did it change you? How did it shape you into who you are today? This might be a roundabout way, but I'll get to it. I think it's funny. So, in middle school, in high school, in college, I was asked to speak at my graduations. And in college, though, I spoke about the power of a mirror and how it can either be used as a weapon formed against you if you speak bad things into it, if you look into it and you use it against yourself, or it can be one of the most powerful tools to build you up. It was funny because whenever I quit my job, um, I remember it wasn't until 3 or 4 months later I went back and I watched that video, and it was crazy. Like all the things that future me needed to hear it, past me said to myself then. And just to like see myself on stage, that was like a really cool moment that I think I was really proud to do. But it wasn't even that really, yeah, sure. Like speaking, cool, great, whatever. But it was the ability for me to watch that back in the time that I needed it most. Um, to say, wow, Lexus, no, you don't need somebody else to say that to you. You don't need a manager, you don't need approval from anyone else to build you up. You have it in yourself and you have to find that tool and use it. And I think since then, that's really shaped the journey that I think who I'm becoming and that I'm on now is because I'm freeing myself from having to hear or listen to the words of everybody else tell me what I need to know. Um, yeah. And through this journey of like after quitting my 9 to 5, oh my gosh, the challenges of like every day waking up, like, who am I? What the heck am I going to do? Am I making the right decision? Am I really worth it? Are people saying things in me? Like, really? Like, what the heck? Um, who's going to pay for the service? Is this even a good idea? But every day you have to wake up and choose yourself. Like every day you have to believe in yourself more than anything because that's the only thing that will carry you through and your community, of course, and having such a sound, strong mind of like people who can uplift and support you. And I think I've really leaned into that or tried to at least now more than ever is just leaning into my friends, my family, my relationship in just being that support system for me. And I think I never want to say I took for granted that um those relationships, but I think now, it's almost like a plant that I may have been like it's in the corner. I'm like, dang, I really got to water that plant. Like I really got to pour into that. And now I'm definitely like making sure it's getting the sunlight. I'm making sure it's watered because oh my God, am I so thankful for that. Yeah, talk to me about the whole life experiment in Creative Chronicles. What is your mission and why is it important to you? I think that someone like me who has big dreams and you're perfectionists, that we are our biggest obstacles in this life. And so many of us, especially perfectionists in this world, you go through thinking that you have to be a master at something. You have to, you can't make any mistakes. Like, you can't fail. You can't give yourself the permission to mess up. And in doing that, life becomes a performance because you don't want to make a mistake on stage. Everybody's watching you. You don't want to be the person who messes up the ensemble or goes off tempo and makes a mistake or does something. But life isn't a performance. Life is an experiment. And every day you should be waking up saying, okay, this is my hypothesis. I think that I can accomplish this. What's my roadmap to doing that? And can I do it differently? And what am I learning from these challenges? Oh, this didn't work. Okay, let me try something new. Oh, that didn't work either. Oh, that's fine. We'll keep going. That didn't work. Okay. Oh, that did work. I learned from that. What can I bring into the next thing that I accomplish? And whenever you position or switch your mind into that, for at least me as a recovering perfectionist and overthinker, I think it really helped me to take the pressure off of life and start living life rather than just performing. And I think that that allows us to go beyond the surface. Like performance is so performative. Like it's so performative. And I think so much of who we are in today and how we interact with others, I think it can be easy to stay at the surface, but it's spaces like this, it's connections and conversations like this, and everyone sharing their story where we can really go and dive in beneath the surface, and give ourselves the permission to not be performative and to instead learn from each other, learn from everyone else. And Creative Chronicles, yeah, so that really started as like, it was funny because after quitting my 9 to 5, I got the artist way, and everybody knows about the artist way. And I kid you not, like that was truly a life changer for me. I realized I was a shadow artist. And so many of us walk around in life thinking that creativity is one way. Oh my gosh, creativity is it's photography, or it's paper and pencil. It's some type of actual, like, form of creative work. But creativity is how you style your house. It's how you decide to make your latte in the morning. It's how you decide to wake up and do your hair or put on your clothes. And I think creativity is truly therapy and healing for people. And the sooner we realize that, um, the sooner that us as adults can kind of work through that. And Creative Chronicles, what I would love for it to become is kind of like a community of people who are going through life, and we're rediscovering creativity together and what that looks like. So much of adulting, and whether that's paying bills, whether that's like, like having kids, having families, so many things can get in the way, and you really do lose sight of like your inner child. And I would love to just kind of create a community where together we kind of explore that. We can become kids on a playground again, and whether that's at a pottery class, or at a painting class together, or even just crocheting something, we can find that within ourselves, and give her, have a community to have fun with that. Yeah. You work in marketing and branding. How do you navigate staying true to yourself in a market that often rewards performance over authenticity? Yes. Oh my gosh, $1 million question. Yeah, what's funny is that I walked away. I walked away. I went off of social media for like 2 years. And while I say that I think that was like such a good time, because yeah, like I wasn't focused on anybody else. I was, you know, focused on myself, and growing, and not comparing my journey to anyone. Like, that's actually not true. I think, yeah, on social media you have a a whole entire a global audience to do it with. But still, even through conversations and people that you have, those are internal things that you have to work through. And social media isn't necessary. It can amplify it, but it's not going to remove it. And I think that what I had to do, went through working with branding and marketing, is learning to understand what the objective was, what the goal was, right? Like, if my goal is to tell my story, it doesn't matter how that's done. I don't need to have a viral hook to have it. I don't need to have the most shares, the most likes for it to do. I mean, for it to get done. Even if it's 200 people who see it, that's 200 people who I got the opportunity to connect with. So I think it was honestly removing a lot of like the vain metrics helped me to see, like, this is your story, this is your voice, whether it's for yourself or for a brand, and the audience that needs to hear it, it'll resonate with. And if you stay true to that, I think that that's more sustainable than anything, right? Because trends come and go, and hooks come and go, and different content strategies come and go, and and all that. But the only thing that's sustainable is your voice and your story and how you want to tell it. And if you remain true to that, whether that's for a brand, for a client, that is something that will resonate and will always remain true. But I think I had to walk away from social media, and find myself a little bit more to understand that. Yeah. If your younger self was here with us right now, what would you say to her? First, I would apologize, honestly. I would say, I'm sorry that I was so hard on you. I would say, I'm sorry that, um, yeah, that I was so hard on you. damn, what the heck? Dang it. Gosh. Second over here crying all the time. Damn. Yeah. But I would say, oh my gosh, am I so proud of you? I'll say, oh my gosh, did you do exactly what you wanted to do? The goals that you set for yourself, you achieved, and you did that. And she would just be so happy, I think. And I think that I would just give her the biggest hug. And I think that that would be like a 5-minute long hug. And little Lexi probably bawling. She would be so happy to see where we were. But I would say to her first that I'm sorry that I was so hard on her. Because you know what's funny? I was doing an exercise. I think it was like the artist way, and I was writing down like my inner thoughts, and it was on the page. Like, yes, you know, your inner dialogue is so important, and I didn't know how critical I was of myself until I wrote it down and I saw it. I was like, damn, no wonder girl can't catch a breath. Like, anything. And I think that's a little bit of that perfectionism. Like, always chasing to have the straight A's, always chasing to be perfect, always chasing to be a leader, always chasing to do this. And it's like, girl, give yourself a break. You got that. Like, you can do it with or without it. Um, so yeah, I would say that to her. I'm sorry, but I love you, and you did that, girl. And you did that. We're doing it. If your future self was here right now, what would she tell you to stop holding back? Damn it! Oh, that's good. Oh, what would she tell you to stop holding back? I think it was a little bit of what I kind of talked about in my speech was like the fear of visibility. I think she would tell me to stop holding back fear of judgment for myself and for others. Um, and just to kind of don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just do it. And you don't have to have a plan. Actually, that might be it too. You don't have to have a plan completely laid out. You can figure it out as you go. Yeah. I think she would, and that leans into me still learning like the perfectionism thing of like, yeah, you don't have to have it figured out, but you have to give yourself the permission to just go for it. Don't hold back because of your fear of judgment, visibility, or thinking that you might not be successful at something. It'll come when it comes, but all you can do is pay attention to who you are in the moment and keep going with that. Ooh, what is the biggest lesson life is teaching you right now? Oh my God. Damn, that's good. The biggest lesson life is teaching me right now is definitely patience because, oh, girl, I'm such an impatient person. I'm like, I'm doing it now. I want it this way. Hey, why isn't it happening? What's going on? And that's not the reality of things. You have to put in the work without seeing the reward for some time. You have to continuously work at understanding, learning your craft, becoming a master at being driven to figuring it out. And if you focus on doing it for that rather than doing it for the reward or the payoff, that is something that's so much more sustainable and so much more grounded than waiting for, or being impatient and waiting for it to come. It's like, okay, I think before I was like, all right, I planted my seed. I added the water, the sun's here. Where's the plant? Where's the plant? And it's like, girl, it takes time. And you aren't going to see it. You aren't going to see it the next morning you wake up. It's not going to be until 3 or 4 months from now that it comes. And yeah, I think that that's the biggest lesson that I'm learning right now is patience. Patience is a virtue. And that is so true. What are you learning to love about yourself? Dang, that's good too. Mm, I'm learning to love my curiosity. I think that, um, and also like I'm learning to love the connection that I care to have with people. I mean, I think everybody loves that, or maybe not. I don't know. But I think my curiosity in connecting with humans, understanding people's stories, and understanding a little bit of like, you know, there's so many people in this world that you just walk past on a day to day. Like, what makes that person that person? What is their journey? What are they going through? Um, and I've always just been a curious person, but the term curiosity killed the cat. Um, I was like, it kind of drove me into overthinking, but I think I didn't know how to use the tool for curiosity correctly. So now I'm learning to love it in the sense of like, I'm calling it a term of like being a kaleidoscope problem solver of like, okay, being curious on, does this work for this audience? Does this not work? Or what is making this person react this way? Or why would that brand do it that way? Or, am I communicating this correctly? Is there a new creative approach that I can take to something? And always just being curious and learning new things. Like, you know, me and my boyfriend, like we'll watch the History Channel and kind of like haha kiki, like very, funny to do that. But just learning history, just being curious and a critical thinker in this world, I think is so important. And yeah, I think before I used to shy away from being so curious in the sense to where it's like, oh, that's going to lead to me overthinking. That's going to lead to me overanalyzing or doing something. But no, it's a part of it. And the more you can be curious, the more you can to lean into that. Um, I think using it as a tool for you is better. Yeah. How has it felt to be seen in the hot seat today? Wow. It feels really good. Yeah, it feels really good. And even through like our brief talk before, it's a reminder that we're all going through something. We are all having a story and we are all figuring it out. And just because someone might articulate it differently or might show it differently or do something differently, it's like the root of us all kind of figuring it out and going through it together is a reminder that you have to have communities like this. You have to have moments and safe spaces like this because it helps you realize I'm not I'm not the first to do this and not the last. I'm not going to be the only. Um of all the things I'm trying to navigate on building a personal brand, trying to start my own agency or building a business and figuring out what the heck life looks like. Life is hard now. I mean, it is crazy everything that's going on in the world. And having this space to just be seen and be open is something that I definitely don't take for granted because there's I really only, I get this opportunity to kind of talk freely with like my very intimate friends. Um, and maybe that's something I need to work on. Maybe that's something that I've held back on, like even how I've brought that to my uh, platform. But yeah, I think that it feels really, really good just to have this conversation and to yeah to learn more into I don't know, I think it's I've even unlocked certain ways that I've processed things about my past through this conversation too. So, biggest takeaway. What is my biggest takeaway? Hmm. I think to the same point of like more people need to experience this. Like more spaces need to have this and more stories need to be shared because I think as you talk through it, as you process it, um, you learn so much more about yourself. Even in how I'm answering some of these questions, I'm like, oh, is that right? Did I say that correctly? Does it do it? And that's like my inner dialogue of perfectionism. I'm like, should you have rephrased that? Should you have said that differently? Girl, it doesn't matter. We're here. We're talking freely. We're being who we are. And the biggest takeaway, I think, is just to show up, support, and use your voice and your tool as a vessel for impact, and hope that you can find others in your community that you can connect with to keep this going. And any final thoughts? Yeah. Mm, I think that the biggest final thought is like the world is absolutely crazy and you have to find it's even now, it's so important now more than ever, especially in the world of like AI and how things are coming up, that you lean in on human connection, on human creativity, and finding your own voice. Because whether that's throwing something into, you know, Claude to help you rewrite something or finding, using it to brainstorm your how you think, it's you can get so lost in having something or someone else create a persona for who you are and how you should show up, but you really have to do the work to separate that from listening to your inner voice and using that as a tool to guide you. And I think that's the biggest thing is like, especially in marketing, people we're so like, all right, what's the impact? What's next? How are we moving forward? How are we doing this? And what's going to be the next big thing? It's like, okay, yeah, there's that, and you can get lost in that. But what about the present? Who we are now, and how do we need to um, make sure that we're taking care of who we are in the moment to be prepared for that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. This is yeah, this has been amazing. So thank you.